The following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates. It does not necessarily reflect the views of WDEL or Forever Media. Rick Jensen on 1150 AM, 1017 FM, WDEL.
So for many, many, many years, I've been a very happy client of Dan White and Associates. They are, they're professionals and financial advisors who specialize in retirement income. On the phone right now is one of the associates who I trust very, very much, Dan Simon, and he has a rundown of some of the most important changes coming that, when it comes to, retirement plans that can affect your life in meaningful ways. Dan, how you doing?
I'm good, Rick. How are you today? Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it now because apparently there are a lot of changes, especially to Roth IRAs and Roth employer plans and things like that. So tell us about this.
Yeah, so some of the big ones came through with, what they're calling Secure Act 2.0, which, came through in the big bill that was passed a few weeks ago. But there are some impacts to workplace retirement plans, such as 401ks, 403bs, not your traditional IRA accounts, but those plans that are administered through your employer. And three of the big items that I want to touch on today are required minimum distributions specifically for Roth 401ks. Very different than a traditional, or I shouldn't say traditional, but a Roth IRA, which never required any type of minimum distribution ever. The idea was you put the money in after taxes, it grows tax-free forever. If you don't spend it, it goes to the kids tax-free. Great. That wasn't the case with Roth 401ks, but good news, that will be changing. So in 2024, Roth 401ks will also become exempt from the required minimum distribution. Great.
Oh, okay.
Second item is a higher catch-up contribution for those 50 and older. Most plans allow for what's called a catch-up provision, catch-up contribution, which will allow them to defer over and above the regular amount that they're allowed. So in this case, in 2023, you can put an extra $7,500 on top of a $22,500 deferral. And then starting in 2025, for individuals who are 60, 61, 62, and 63, they're going to be able to make even a higher catch-up contribution of 150% of the regular catch-up limit for 2024. So pretty big deal with being able to defer more income into these retirement plans.
Yeah, but it is interesting. It ends at 63, not 65, 68, anything like that, huh?
Yeah, they shut it down at 63. So,
yeah.
I guess they don't want people stashing away too much. A little give or take on taxes now versus taxes in the future. And then the other caveat there is a mandatory Roth catch-up contribution. That's where it gets a little bit more complicated. So starting next year, 2024, for individuals 50 and over, if they're making an excess contribution, it's got to go into a Roth if their income is in excess of $145,000, inflation adjusted for the previous year. Assuming the plan has a Roth option, it can go in, but it's got to go in on a post-tax basis into the Roth component of the plan.
Interesting. Yeah. By the way, I'm glad you're studying this stuff because I'm trying to follow along here. I'm thinking, boy, I'm glad you've got your notes and you've studied this.
Well, you got to know the rules and use them to your advantage. Otherwise, if you don't know the rules and you make a mistake, who typically ends up paying? Well, it's usually the account owner themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
See them, make mistakes and certainly get hit with fees or anything along those lines.
All right. So, is there more?
So those are the three biggies.
Okay.
There's another one. So it's pretty interesting. So matches on student debt. So starting in 2024. Secure Act 2.0 is going to allow employers to make matching plan contributions on student loan repayments by employees. It's optional, obviously, but a way for people to eradicate some debt if their employer is willing to help with that cause.
Well, let me get you. Let me get a question. Yeah, let me get a question in, before you continue there. So, is the employer getting some kind of deduction or some impetus for helping to match on student debt?
You would think so. I haven't read that language specifically, but I would think they would get some type of tax deferral component to it.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have much interest in doing that.
well, yeah. Unless they have employees that they want to keep and say, listen, if you got some debt, we can help you with this.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. You're right. That's not happening a whole lot. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see layoffs left and right now these days.
I know, right? And we gotta talk about that. Maybe Dan. Maybe if it's you or Andrew or Dan White next Wednesday, talk about that as well, because we're talking seriously hundreds of thousands of people, and if you work in the finance industry or the tech industry, right now they are indeed the most susceptible to this. And they need good advice on what to do while they're looking for another job.
Yeah, Microsoft came out today. They're planning on laying off 10,000 employees starting Wednesday. It's roughly 5% of their workforce. It's crazy.
Damn.
So not a good sign.
No, it's not. So that's kind of cool, though, that they can match on student debt. They want to keep them. What about some of the other 401k stuff?
So the last one I wanted to touch on was auto enrollment for new plans. So beginning in 2024, many newly established company plans will be required to automatically enroll employees in the plan. So, you got a new employee, let's say somebody out of college, they're not sure exactly what they're doing. They don't know if they want to set up the 401k contribution. Well, it's going to be set up automatically for them. So it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, unless they choose to completely opt out of the plan, which they do have the ability to do. But I think it's a great start for getting people saving early for retirement. The earlier you address it, the better off you're going to be down the road.
So what's going to be, like 10 or 15%? Do you have any idea? Have they articulated
the exact percentages? Yeah. Nah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. Saying, okay, okay, we're worried about Social Security. People won't have enough money. How about this? How about we just say you have to enroll in a 401k plan when you start a job? That's going to be for new plans, not existing ones, I'm sure. But you do that, and then people have to opt out, say, whoa, I don't want to do that. And then Human Resources says, actually, you kind of want to do that because you want to have retirement money. That begins a really interesting conversation at the level of the Human Resources office, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Sure.
Yeah. So, but you seem to be, look, you're all about retirement, and I get that, in investment, and so I can see why you, Dan Simon at Dan White & Associates, would like this, because it gets people thinking about this. I mean, this is what you guys do. You are financial planners, and you're specializing in retirement income. So I can see where you would really, really like this, saying, okay, there's an option to opt out, but man, you got to start early when you're going to retire. And it's true, isn't it, Dan?
It absolutely is. I always find if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. If the money's going into an account that they can't touch, they're more likely not to withdraw funds from the account, which you shouldn't do from a retirement account unless it's for retirement income. The earlier you start, the better off you're likely going to be down the road.
Good stuff. You can also reach Dan. He's in the Middletown office at 888-690-8820. 888-690-8820. And Dan White himself presents On the Money Sunday mornings, 7 a.m. here
I know the show.
You know the show? All right. What's the show?
I know what he's going to be talking about this week.
All right.
It's going to be why he thinks we're in the eye of a financial hurricane right now. I'm sure it's going to be a great show, as always.
Well, I know he reads a lot and studies a lot, and he's been right about all these things. Yeah. I'm going to be listening now because even at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, why we're in the eye of a financial hurricane, that's something we need to know.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll have a lot of good information to share.
Yeah, you don't sound real excited about that. You said, we don't want to see this. We like certainty. I know, right?
Yeah, certainty is a good thing. I like that, too.
All right.
Predictable results.
All right, you're a good guy. Dan, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Dan's in the Middletown office.
All right, take care, Rick.
Take care. You can reach him at 888-690-8820, 888-690-8820, Dan White & Associates.